I'm sure the vast majority of the folks in my audience are all too well aware that over the last decade or two, the U.S. military has had to lower its standards to achieve recruiting goals. However, I don't think most are aware of just exactly how low those standards have gone. The story about this once missing, now found F-35 that crashed in South Carolina has gone from patently absurd to now a complete comedy routine. They think you're too stupid to even do basic math in your head or ask the simplest of questions, because they're putting out information at different outlets that when you put it together makes zero sense, not even to a first grader. Just tell them anything, General. They're too stupid to know the difference. You got that right. Wow. You think I'm kidding about this? I did this thumbnail for yesterday's video as kind of a bit of a joke, but now I'm not so sure that it is. Wait until you see this information. It is going to blow your mind. This is midday.com. Officials find debris field from F-35 fighter jet that crashed in South Carolina after pilot ejected. General Eric Smith, the acting commandant of the Marine Corps, ordered the stand down while authorities search. And you see the picture, and it seems reasonable, right? You see there's a problem, though, with this picture. Does anybody see the problem with the picture? Well, I'm going to show you right after this, and it's going to kind of blow your mind. However, before we get into this, I just want to say thank you every single day. Live a life of gratitude. Thank you, everyone who shows up here. YouTube channel, Patreon channel. Whether you agree, whether you think I'm full of it, it doesn't matter. Being able to engage and have the discussion is what this is all about. If you'd like to join us over at Patreon, it's only $1. That's it, $1 a month. Lowest allowable level. Even less if you sign up for an entire year. And once again, fully refundable first 90 days. No questions asked. God bless all of you who have. You're making a huge difference in my life, more so than what you know. Now, take a real good look at this picture of the area. You see, I thought it looked a little familiar. Now let's look at this again. Midday.com. Officials find debris field. Updated 19 September 2023. You see, it's kind of a funny picture to use, because, very strangely, what was it, about a month ago? Yevgeny Prigozhin on board plane in fatal crash, says Russia. And you go through here and you read, and oh look, let's zoom this in. Isn't that strange? The exact same picture that was used for the crash of the aircraft that had the Wagner Group leader aboard is now being used for the F-35. You see, there's a problem, and we've asked this question. We, of course, know that the F-35 runs on a very secret, classified, proprietary blend of unicorn queefs, butterfly farts, and Smurf tears, so that when it crashes, there's no fire, there's no smoke, there's no anything at all to show where it is. Now, here's the new information. You ready for this? Pilot of downed F-35 parachuted into residential backyard. Now here's the information. The pilot of a $100 million stealth fighter jet parachuted safely into the backyard of a home in South Carolina after a malfunction forced him to eject from the aircraft, causing the plane to crash into a wooded area about 60 miles away. Now, that happened at 2 o'clock in the afternoon on Sunday. They didn't find anything until 5 p.m. the next day, only 60 miles away. The pilot, who has not been identified by the Marine Corps, did not have serious injuries, has been discharged from the hospital. He's unsure of where his plane crashed. Said he just lost it in the weather. Now, pay attention there. Lost it in the weather. A trip that began as a routine training flight did not last very long. The pilot experienced a malfunction and was forced to eject On Sunday, at an altitude of 1,000 feet, just 1 mile north of Charleston International Airport. Now, let's put all of this together with some basic information. What we know about the Marine Corps F-35, this is also Army Times. The aircraft kept flying pilotless for 60 miles before crashing. He only got to 1,000 feet and only about a mile away from where he took off. Now, I'm sure there's a lot of pilots out there going, hold the phone. Wait a minute. The takeoff rate, what they call rotation speed, is 190 knots. So he was still at, we're going to assume, somewhere around 200 knots. Do you know how fast you cover a mile at 200 knots? And what kind of impact energy is delivered by something hitting the ground at 13 tons hitting the ground at 200 knots? This aircraft, let's assume it stayed at the exact same speed it took off at, 200 knots. I want you to imagine a cement truck. I want you to imagine a cement truck impacting the ground next to your house at nearly 200 miles an hour. Do you think it might knock something off the shelf? Do you think that might crack a window? Do you think it might vibrate a few things? Do you think you'd probably know about it immediately? Well, you see, we go back here, and they have this picture, very strangely labeled, Airmen from Joint Base Charleston speak to a family living right next to the site of a crashed F-35 about the operation to recover the fighter jet. Do you see any cracked windows on this house? You're telling me these people did not immediately call authorities and say, we have an F-35 crashed right next to our house, literally within minutes. Remember, the story was they had to go out and they had to ask the public, can somebody, please help us find our F-35? Well, here they are talking to people whose house is right next to where it impacted. Let's see if we can put this on a map. Okay. Here's the best part of all of this. Here's the airport where it took off, right here, Joint Base Charleston. Took off going 200 knots. Gets to 1,000 feet, only about a minute in, and he's out. Now, the plane continues in a straight line. It doesn't go left. It doesn't go right. It was at 1,000 feet taking off. Taking off. But then somehow ends up on the ground, crashed. They said in 60 miles away, Indiantown. I don't know exactly where the impact is. But my point is, didn't the pilot say he lost it in the weather? What weather could have possibly made the aircraft unflyable to the point where you're going to eject at 1,000 feet only a minute after takeoff over Charleston? What weather could you have possibly lost it in? He didn't turn left. He didn't turn right. He barely even pulled back on the yoke. Look at the runway. I lined this up. Here's the runway, okay, that he took off from. The runway literally points directly at the crash site. This guy didn't take off and then fly around over here, then fly around over here, and oh, oops, oh no, there's a cloud. Gosh, and it might be raining, so I should eject. At 200 knots, you are covering, what is that, about 3 miles a minute? Guys out there that are good at math, well, better at math than me. Let's see, 200 knots, 180, yeah, you're doing not 3, miles a minute. You're doing 3 miles a minute, and this is 60 miles away. That means he took off. Within a minute, he ejected, and 20 minutes later, it was on the ground. 30,000 pounds, 15 tons, impacting the ground at 200 knots right next to somebody's house, and they don't make a phone call? And they don't make a phone call. And now they're using a fake picture from a month ago to show a fire. See, that's how much people forget. That's the crazy part. Let's go back to that article. I couldn't believe this when I found it. They're using the picture. They're using the picture that they used from a month ago. And even when you scroll over, it says officials find debris from F-35 fighter jet. This is a picture of the plane crash, allegedly, that killed, what's this guy's name again? Get this right. Yevgeny Prigozhin. He was the leader of the Wagner Group. Leader of the Wagner Group. You know who the Wagner Group was? It was that Russian group that almost overthrew, allegedly, almost overthrew Putin. Wagner paramilitary chief. Launched armed mutiny back in June. You're telling me this is an accident. You're telling me this is an accident. It's about as believable as this. I know people laugh at this, but I mean, you might as well. I mean, they're making it up. This is all make believe. This is absolutely all make believe. I don't know what the angle is on this or why they're trying to try to tie this to Ukraine and to Russia and to that Wagner chief, but I'll give you the links. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong on this. I mean, just do the math. I mean, think about this from even a private pilot. Let's say, do I have any private pilots out there? I mean, let's say you're in an aircraft that's got a rotation speed of about 200 knots. So you're up to 200 knots. You're moving at 3 miles a minute. 3 miles a minute, and 20 seconds a minute into the flight, 3 miles into the flight, poof, you're out. 1 minute into the flight, you're out. And then the thing continues to fly. I don't think you would even have needed an F-35 at this point to have this thing go down 60 miles later. I'll bet tell me I'm wrong here. I'll bet there are planes you could set at that point. Once you had it off the ground, once you had it basically all dialed in to climb, you could jump out of the plane at that point, lock that sucker straight on one heading, and it would just continue to climb and climb and climb and climb. Remember the story was the thing could technically still be flying around on autopilot? This thing was out of the air in 20 minutes. At 660 miles, yeah, 60 miles moving 200 knots. This thing was out of the air in about 20 minutes. And it took them 28 hours to find it. Allegedly. It's just insane. And it's all basic math that I'm just spitballing in my head right now. So, tell me what you think. Am I wrong? Am I wrong about this? Or is something else going on, and is this tied to Ukraine? Or this issue with Russia? I'll give you this link. I don't know why they would use this picture, because if this had been the picture 20 minutes later, don't you think they would have found the plane? If this had been the picture of what exactly happened, where this thing was full of fuel, number one, if it just took off and it was on the ground in 20 minutes, it was loaded with fuel, so there should have been one heck of a giant plume of burning jet fuel. Should there not have been? But we know this picture isn't from the crash. This picture is from a month ago. It's the exact same picture. I'll give you both these articles. So, I will leave it there and let you guys figure this one out, because this is just bizarre. I didn't think they could do a worse job of lying than they did with the Fitzgerald and the McCain, but they did here. Man, that was only, what, 6 years ago? That's how bad it's gotten? My goodness. God bless all of you. Thank you so much. Pray for each other. Pray for me. I'll pray for you. Lift each other up. God bless. Like, share, subscribe. We'll see you guys next time.